Good afternoon, Saginaw. Welcome to the Voices of Faith, transforming the community. This is Pastor Chris Pryor, pastor of Victorious Believers Ministries, and I'm a proud member of the Saginaw African American Pastors, where we're out sharing the good news and the word. Listen, the mission of the Saginaw African American Pastors, better known as SAP, is to engage, to advocate, and to collaborate. And so today it is a joy for us on this Sunday. Listen, Saginaw, did you go to church today? It's a beautiful day, and I pray that you went to church. But with that in mind, our goal, as I share with you, is to engage, to advocate, and to collaborate. What do you mean, Pastor Chris? Engage in intentional conversations with leaders, decision makers at the highest level of every critical sector. Not only that, but to advocate for systematic changes that eliminate biases and prejudice that affect us as a community. So we want to speak out. We want to be the voice. And so we're grateful for KISS 107.1 allowing us the opportunity to continue to go forward. And so we're collaborating, not just with people in the city, in the state, and in the nation to make Saginaw powerful. So I'm excited today. Again, this is Pastor Chris Pryor of Victorious Believers Ministries. I'm grateful this month is National Awareness of Gun Violence. The week before this, you had an opportunity to hear from our police officers, Mr. Jordan Beatty, and some of the work that he is doing. I'm grateful for all the other organizations, Parishioners on Patrol, Bishop Campbell, who just did a wonderful job a few days ago with hosting and bridging the gap with police officers, Pastor Cream Bowen with help, Victorious Community Development with the Gun Violence Awareness Breakfast. All these great things are happening in our city. So let's rally together. Let's rally together. But today, Saginaw, I have a special guest, nationally known. He's a good friend of mine, well studied. He's a Spartan. So if you say go blue, we're still praying for you. But he has multiple degrees from Michigan State University, but is specialist in, or I would say, an expertise in youth violence. He talks about crime. He consults with various climates to improve lives of in our community. And so I want to celebrate Dr. Paul Elam, who is with us today. He's from Lansing. He is the chief strategist for MPHI. All righty. He's going to share with you what that means and all the great work that they're doing. But he does an extensive amount of work in Saginaw. So I want you to text somebody right now. Tell them to join us on KISS 107.1 so that we can continue to further our discussion. We all set, Matthew? All righty. And so with that being the case, welcome, Dr. Elam.
Man, I'm happy to be in the place with you, Pastor Chris, and I salute you and the SAP team. And it is Go Green on today. So
I'm with you on that.
I'm looking forward to the upcoming season and happy to be here in the studio with you today to really talk about something that is near and dear to all of our lives if you live in an urban space and you care about youth, particularly our young Black and brown youth. If you didn't know, gun violence is a threat to public health, and it is the number one killer of youth in urban spaces, above cancer, above auto accidents, above any other health threat. It is gun violence. And so I'm glad to be here to talk to you about something that's near and dear to our heart.
Well, thank you to you because of your studies, your involvement, engagement. You are what we would call boots on the ground. You're one of those individuals, yes, with great degrees, but you are actively engaged with people who have been incarcerated, those who are claimed shooters. And so we want to love and empower. We want Saginaw. Saginaw is a great city, and we're believing for better things to happen, but we must make sure that gun violence is at a minimum. And so based upon your research and experience, what are some of the root causes of gun violence in cities like Saginaw? Because it's not just in Saginaw. This is an epidemic. Share with us some things that you would share based upon your research and experience.
Well, some of the things that we have encountered are sort of what we would call common sense things, right? If you have children, if you have grandchildren, if you have kids you care about in community, what we have noticed is most youth who are involved in what we call cyclical and retaliatory gun violence. That is, they have access to a weapon and they are feuding with others, and they choose to use weapons to resolve those disputes, we find that they are very much disconnected.
Mhm.
When we engage these youth, they're not in school, they're not employed. The health and human service systems that we have developed in our communities are not engaging these individuals, and for the most part, law enforcement is a system that might be trying to apprehend them, but they are also evading law enforcement. And so these are young men and women who have a lot of trauma, sexual, whether it be adverse childhood experiences, physical abuse, lack of housing, very unstable, and they're deeply interconnected factors that contribute to what we call social determinants of violence. If we were to create a profile of what you would expect to see in a youth who's involved in this behavior, those would be the social determinants. And so it's living in poverty, it's under-resourced neighborhoods, it's intergenerational trauma. It did not start with these youth. Lack of economic opportunities. When I mentioned systems that we have developed to serve our community, many of these systems have not been developed to serve this type of population.
Right.
And so they've failed out of our education systems. And so, for more importantly, in Saginaw, I think this issue of unresolved conflict and unaddressed grief creates a sense of hopelessness. And so, where we might have the ability to fight for human rights and civil rights, there's a segment of our population in our community just fighting for the right to live.
Wow.
Day to day.
Day to day.
They have no goals. They have no aspirations. And that's what we really embrace them with is love. And we begin to build from the foundation all types of visioning exercises and goals and trips and dreams. And so they begin to dream with us, and they begin to act upon those dreams.
Hang with me, Saginaw, because this is important, because we're going to change some lives of people. As you said, there have been generational challenges that many young people have come out of and don't know where to go. And so what do? They follow what they've seen.
Yeah.
And so with that on today, we're going to break those generational cycles and make them generational, what the church would say, blessings. And so it's going to be a good time today. I need you to hear from Dr. Elam, because there have been some things that he has instituted that have been instrumental in seeing change. So I don't want to just throw out problems. Today, we're going to talk about some solutions. All righty. And so it's important that we advocate, that we be in the right place, that we know where to go. We know options that are provided for us, those who have lost family members. It shouldn't take a death to happen in your family until you start advocating. All of us are affected by gun violence, and businesses do not want to come to a city where there is violence. And so we're a great city with great people. And I know times have changed, right? Times have changed. Different laws have been exposed. What are some of the key trends that we should be or need to be aware of based upon the last 5, 10, 15 years?
Mm-hmm. I think what we're learning is access to weapons amongst our youth population is on the rise. And when you think about the prevalence and evolution of technology, we use Amazon to shop for us.
Oh, my Lord.
Right. We have food coming to the house and groceries coming to the house. If you connect with youth culture, they have weapon parts coming to the house.
Wow.
They can order weapons and they can build weapons. And it's a part of youth culture now. And even if you have youth who are not necessarily engaged in gun violence, they are connected with folks who are connected to gun violence. And so they're concerned about their health and well-being. Am I going to get caught slipping if I don't have a weapon? And so youth are thinking about those issues, right? When we go into our schools and we talk to superintendents and principals, they're telling us that weapons are all around our schools now. You know, they're in stash places. They might not be in the school necessarily, but they're in bushes around schools. They're in houses in close proximity to schools. And on any given day, that weapon might come into the school. And so historically, we don't believe that kids had access to weapons the way that they do now. They're modifying weapons and they don't necessarily know how to shoot those weapons. We have so many shootings. It's a blessing that we don't have more bullets and bodies. When we look at the shooting incidents and the rate of bullets and bodies per incident is very low. And so I think we've seen over the last decade, not only more access to weapons, but I'm 53 years old, Pastor Chris. When I grew up, they said knuckle up.
That's it.
You had to learn how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And most youth aren't doing that anymore. They're
Mm.
resolving their disputes with weapons. And many of them don't want to have any physical altercations. And so they also lack mentors. Some basic things when we think about what kids had access to in the summer. I could talk to an elder. I could talk to a pastor. I could talk to an uncle.
Right.
I could get sent down south or to the East Coast to be with family members if I was acting a fool in Detroit, where I grew up. And many of the youth, they don't have those types of connections, right? And so there's some basic things, fundamental things we have to reestablish. The fabric of our families, our communities, our neighborhoods. We have de-invested in these things, after school programs that are accessible to kids that meant a lot. Small investments, but really determine the trajectory of a youth life. And so we call that positive youth development. I think there's some trends in the right direction in some spaces, but when I think about trends in the wrong direction, as we've tried to balance our budgets, some of it has been on the backs of our youth in our communities.
Wow, that is so true. And what you said, we need mentors and men to step up. Matter of fact, I want to pause for the cause. Today is very special. Today is better known as Father's Day. And so I celebrate every father that is out there. I want you to be encouraged. Know that you are needed. You are wanted. And so I want you to know that we are here today to empower you, to strengthen you, to tell you, keep on going the right way. And if you have fallen, Dad, get up. If there's been a challenge in your life, find another brother that can mentor you and help you to the next level. And so to what you have shared, Dr. Elam, is so critical that we lack mentorship. And it's unfortunate that our children are having to experience different things. So what I heard you say, mothers and fathers, some of the things that are coming to our homes, we need to investigate, right? And so it's important for us to look at the objects that may be coming on a Thursday, Friday. I mean, Amazon, they don't sleep. I mean, they're delivering all the time. And so with that being the case, we have to know what's going on in our homes.
Absolutely.
We have to make sure that we're having sit-down discussions with our children, taking them to some of the programs. Listen, this summer in Saginaw, we have what's called Freedom Schools, and it is free to our children to be a part of a program that teaches them who they are, their history, and I believe they'll be more successful as they continue to go forward. So I want to put a notch out to Freedom Schools. How do you find out about it? Google, go to Facebook, you'll find out more. But it's going to take us. I'm just like you. I'll be 53 at the end of this year. And what did we say? Knuckle up.
That's
right. You dropped your book bags and you fought rather than pulling out a gun. And that has such a massive effect. Talk to me, when you share this information based upon, homicides are very costly.
Yes, they are.
The effect not only that it has personally to families, and just share some of your knowledge and the studies of what you found out when a homicide or even a shooting occurs in our community.
Absolutely. If you did not know, there is a cost to gun violence, and we've done the research nationally. We've looked at it in our own state, and there is an estimate that every murder costs a taxpayer in Michigan about $1.5 million. What are those costs? Those are costs associated with responding to that incident, all the court-related costs. And typically, if that individual is apprehended, there's going to be some jail and prison time. When you add all those costs up, it's about $1.5 million to taxpayers. Every time someone is shot, that's about $900 to $1 million.
Wow.
To taxpayers in our community. And so for us to be aware of this issue is not only going to benefit our communities and those impacted directly by gun violence, it impacts all of us as taxpayers. Every shooting we stop, every murder we stop, that's $1 million that we can redirect to help build our community, to invest more in education, more in parks and rec, more in things that we would like our kids and families to have access to thrive.
Right.
And so it is a cost benefit for us to be aware of this and to develop cost-effective solutions.
Yeah, we have to, Saginaw. They say snitchers get stitches.
Snitches get stitches.
Okay, talk to me. You know it. You've been in this. Listen, we have to open and talk. I grew up. If you didn't tell, you was gonna get in trouble. Not only were they gonna get in trouble, but you was gonna get in trouble. And so we've got to change that mindset so that we can help. And I know it's easier said than done, but we have to. I know for Victoria's Community Development, we're out on the streets with our gun violence program, and we've had people who work in the system based upon losing family members. And so it's personal to them. It is warming to say, Pastor, if I can just change one person's heart, I feel like I've given something back because of losing my son.
Yes.
And so with being on that side, I hurt knowing what our children have to experience and go through. And so when we talk about some of the misconceptions in the public eye and who's going through this gun violence, what are some of the misconceptions that are out there that we need to be aware of that are pertinent for us to change the trajectory of not only our city, Saginaw, Lansing, where you're at? What are some of the misconceptions?
I'll raise two. That's a great question. I think the first is, whose responsibility is it to deal with gun violence?
Okay, talk to me.
Most folks think that is the responsibility of law enforcement,
right,
or the justice system. And I would agree they are contributors,
right,
to that. They are part of our ecosystem in the community. But the community itself also has a role. The church has a role.
That's right.
Our public health infrastructure has a role. And we approach this from a perspective of advancing public health and public safety. And so when you think about that, one misconception is, don't we hire our law enforcement agencies, our juvenile and criminal justice system, to deal with crime? Yes, you do. But their role is to enforce the law and to respond to issues of injustice and criminal justice and juvenile delinquency. There's also an aspect to preventing, intervening, and follow-up.
Right.
And I think we need to educate our communities more on the role of public health. Public health's role is to get to the root cause of gun violence. In this case, it is a threat to our public health. And so we want to know, where is it coming from?
Where?
Who's involved in it? And my second misconception is, we might think that gun violence is a random or simple result of just bad choices by bad people across our communities and neighborhoods, but that's really not the truth. In every community we've looked at this, gun violence is highly concentrated among a small group of individuals,
okay,
who are at both the highest risk of being assaulted or participating as a perpetrator. And so we think in most communities, this is very manageable if you use a public health approach. And so it is all of our responsibility. And this is not a large issue to deal with in a city like Saginaw.
Wow. Dr. Paul Elam is our special guest, a member or the chief strategist for Michigan Public Health Institute, done extensive work, known nationally across this country for the work that he has done, actively involved in Saginaw, giving us some information that we need to know as parents, as civic leaders, as pastors, whatever role, as business owners. We all have a responsibility to make sure that we invest in our children, our youth, those who have fallen, those who have made mistakes in the past. Listen, I want you, if you can tell me in the next couple minutes, just share with me one of the key initiatives, and then we'll talk about advanced peace after we come back from a break. But I want you to share with me what has been one key thing that you have seen has been transformational in the city of Lansing, or any of the programs, because you work with so many programs in the nation. What has been one key thing that has been beneficial?
I think our ability to connect with individuals who are at the center of gun violence and demonstrate people do care.
Yes.
People do want to see you succeed. Building trusting relationships that are authentic with individuals who grew up in the same neighborhoods that they live in, and also being there daily to invest in those relationships.
Wow. Now, when you say daily, I think that is critical, because I think sometimes we miss that. And so just share a little bit about what daily means in regards to transformation for people.
Absolutely. One of the things we've learned in terms of how you change attitudes, thinking, and ultimately behavior is the research around dosage. And what I mean by that is how many hours, what is the intensity of an intervention or an activity that we can expose individuals to. So for those who are out in Saginaw who are parents and you have children or you have loved ones, how much time you spend with them, that quality time, that meaningful time demonstrates the value of that relationship, right?
That's right.
And so with our youth, it's very much the same way. We have connected with individuals who are highly volatile. They're violent, and we're making a commitment for 18 months. And the strategy we're using to connect with them at least 3 times a day.
Wow.
3 times a day. And for the first 30 to 60 days, you might not see a change in attitudes or thinking. But by that 3rd, 4th month, they begin to ask you questions. Why are you spending so much time with me? Why are you loving on me this way? I've never experienced this. What are you trying to set me up? Are you the police?
Wow.
Do you have some other agenda? Because their entire experience has been they don't trust individuals.
Right.
But once we spend that time daily and follow through, do you have a need that's not met? Transportation need, a bill need. Are you feuding with somebody and you need some advice? And we're there every day to help them navigate through that. They see us through a different light. This is not a program. This is not an initiative. This is a strategy where we build authentic relationships, trusting relationships. And now they know how much we care. And now they begin to share more information with us.
Saginaw, you got to stay with me. This is life-changing. It's a game-changer for our community. I'm going to share more with you with Dr. Paul Elam being our special guest. He is well known for and seen the results happen. Let's not give up on your child. Don't give up on our children. Believe in them. Know that there are options for them. And if we seek out wisdom, we're going to get the answers that we need in order to make a difference in the life of our children. So we're breaking generational cycles. We're putting them on a new path so they're able to move forward. And so I want you to stay with me as we go to this commercial break, but it is important for us to work together as we move forward in this great city of Saginaw. Keep on listening. Dr. Paul Elam is coming back with more information. Hey, this is Pastor Chris. We're grateful to be on the Voices of Faith, transforming the community. Again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. If you're a grandfather, big father, little father, whatever father you are, happy Father's Day. You are special, you are needed, and you are wanted. And regardless of what you're experiencing, know that we love you and God loves you. Listen, I'm blessed today to have Dr. Paul Elam with us. We're talking about challenges that are happening in our community, gun violence. But here it is, Saginaw. There are solutions. I always tell people, don't just throw me problems, help me with the solutions. And so today, Dr. Paul Elam, who is nationally known, countries, or I should say the country, the United States, people, every state is calling him, asking because of the studies that he has done. We have an evidence-based program that is being used in many cities in our country. that he is helping to facilitate. And I want him to talk about what I've learned. It's entitled Advanced Peace. Dr. Elam, just share with us about Advanced Peace.
Absolutely. Advanced Peace is a gun violence intervention initiative that was started by Devone Bogan, a native of Lansing, Michigan, wow. And he started this work in Richmond, California over 10 years ago. And one of the effective strategies that we have taken from that work and brought to Lansing is what we call a Peacemaker Fellowship. There are different types of models that communities can select to deal with a gun violence problem. Some are hospital-based intervention programs, some work with law enforcement, but Advanced Peace is one that's rooted in relationship building, as we've been talking, mentorship, conflict mediation, and we're working with folks who are at the center of gun violence these folks are often, as I mentioned, overlooked by our traditional human service systems, right? They are not connecting with these individuals, and we step in. We don't step in to arrest. We don't step in to incarcerate. We step in to coach individuals on how to deal with conflict without using a weapon. And so we don't even tell kids to stop carrying weapons. You know, it's your legal right to have access to a weapon. Do it the right way, but don't use it in an illegal manner. Don't use it to hunt people down. Use it to defend yourself if you need to do that. But there are alternative ways that you can handle day-to-day beasts that rise up in social media, that rise up because of neighborhoods that you live in, rise up because of the schools you attend.
Right.
You and I have to deal with those same conflicts, but thank God we didn't pick up a weapon and resolve those conflicts with a weapon. And so we talk about it. How do we advance peace? This is a peacemaker fellowship. We use the term fellowship typically to acknowledge and honor folks who are doing great things in life. They're right. Part of this fellowship, and we're reaching out to our youth and saying, you are being recruited to join a fellowship. And so what the devil meant for evil, we're turning around and making it to work for their good. You are eligible for our fellowship because of your history, because of your behavior, because of your actions. And we have the audacity to believe if you rock with us for 18 months, you're going to become the young man, the young woman that God created you to be in this earth.
Now, go back and just share, who are the individuals who are able to be a part of the fellowship? And is it just young men? Are there young women able to be a part of Advanced Peace as well?
That's a great question. We don't target anyone other than active firearm offenders who are evading the reach of law enforcement. So we are coming into a urban space and working with the community, working with court systems, working with law enforcement and saying, give us the names of the most violent people that you know in your community. That's who we want to recruit for this fellowship.
Wow.
They are causing problems in the community. What you're doing is not working. We believe we have a solution. And so once we identify those individuals, it's all confidential. We don't share any information with anyone. That's because we want to maintain our street credibility and have a license to operate in any neighborhood that we move. And so once they're on our radar and we recruit them, if they say yes, we're connecting with them 24/7. Life coaching, we travel with them. We provide them with cognitive behavioral therapy. We provide them with access to elders in the community. We connect them daily with life skills development. We connect them with health and human service systems to apply for state and federal entitlement programs that they're eligible for. And most importantly, we allow them to dream. We have short, intermediate, and long-term goals that we work with all of our fellows on, and they will all leave that city that they grew up in. They will travel outside of the city in other parts of the state. They'll travel outside of the state. And if they get to the end of our initiative, they will travel outside of the country to see that life is more than just picking up a weapon and hunting people down.
You mean to tell me they get a chance to go outside the country?
Absolutely.
That is remarkable. I want to celebrate Devon and your leadership in regards to making sure things are happening. You talked about life coaching. Share with some of the things, because unfortunately, we talked about the generational cycles. It wasn't necessarily an individual's fault. It wasn't something that they asked for. It's just what they were brought into.
Absolutely.
And so what you're doing is just evaluating, but helping people dream again, see what the real world is like outside of what they see the real world is like. Tell me one of the stories or success stories that you've had with some of the individuals that are part of this fellowship.
Absolutely. We run an 18-month fellowship, and so our first cohort was with 15 individuals from the city of Lansing. We're now running a second cohort with 55 individuals for 18 months. And
wait, you said you've gone from 15 to 55?
To 55,
wow.
Yes. So in less than 3 years, we will have engaged 70 of Lansing's most violent individuals in this experience. And I'll tell you, one young man really just locked in. He was feuding with another one of our fellows from different sides of the city. They both were assigned a neighborhood change agent, and they worked with these two individuals for about 6-7 months. And at some point, we thought it's time to bring these two individuals together. And so both of their neighborhood change agents, who work with them daily, 3 times a day, made a request and said, would you go to Detroit with us so that we can hang out for the week and the two of y'all can have a conversation? They agreed to do that. And so we're in Detroit for a week. We had a national training with Advanced Peace. And while we were doing our training, their neighborhood change agents were working with the two of them on this ongoing feud that they had where bullets were being put in bodies. And by the end of that week, these two young men were sleeping in the same hotel room. In the next 6 months, we had these two young men traveling the country with one another. And by the end of the 18 months, they were in another country riding amusement park rides together, live streaming it, telling their friends back in Lansing, we got it wrong. You know, they were the leaders of their factions and saying, we need to stop this. We need to put the guns down. And some of their own buddies were streaming back and saying, you know, y'all some suckers. You should stop doing that. And they begin to go back and forth and say, no, you know, this is the right way to do things. And so they've come back to Lansing. They might not be best friends, but when they encounter each other in the community, they don't shoot at each other anymore.
Wow, that is major. Just hearing what this program has done. It's an evidence-based program, which is so important. Who have you hooked up with? You know, I know UCLA has been involved, right?
University of California, Berkeley.
Berkeley.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, so we work with them. They are our national evaluators. We also work with Michigan State University School of Criminal Justice. Go White. We have a couple professors there who help us with our data analysis and analytics. They're also doing qualitative research in our community by interviewing and talking to family members, loved ones, and even the fellows themselves, so that they can share and articulate the power, the impact of the experience that they've gone through this fellowship. And so we publish our work on our website. It's available to the public. You can look at the content, and it's updated every 12 months.
That's outstanding. Listen, Saginaw, our guest is Dr. Paul Elam, who does an extensive amount of work around the country, but he's very active in the city of Saginaw as well, making sure that we're helping people through public health, making sure that there are opportunities for those who may not have a voice to remember we are never going to forget about you. And so, Dr. Elam, throughout the years, I say thank you for traveling from Saginaw. You are vested in our community, doing so many great things. We've been talking about advanced peace, but I'm grateful because I'm believing by faith that there's going to be an advanced peace in Saginaw where we take people who have had challenges in their life. Listen, my father and mother told me this. If you're looking down on a person, you need to be picking them up, not talking about them. And so that is so important. That's something that I've lived by in my life, because I know that there are people who have had challenges, their experiences that they never asked for. But here we are as the community, as the church at large, wanting to be a help and a blessing. And so even with KISS 107.1 allowing us this opportunity to have to share, we say thank you from the Saginaw African American pastors. I'm grateful for the work that Bishop Coleman is doing, Dr. Tatum. There's some events that we're doing out in the community at Mission in the City. So those are big programs. Go to Facebook. Look, there's a brotherhood gathering where men are coming together to hold each other accountable. I'm telling you, yesterday we had a unity breakfast at Victorious Believers Ministries.
Wow.
Where we're loving on each other, getting through the walls and the challenges. And so I want to just say it starts. It's hard work. It's going to take some sweat. It's going to take some frustration. It's going to take some sacrifice for us to continue to make a difference in our community. But we cannot sit silent. And the worst thing that we can do is sit in our homes and complain. That we have to be advocates. Will you just share with us about being an advocate of some of the things that the community has done, as well as yourself has done in other cities in order to bring programs such as this to their community?
Absolutely. I mean, you started out today talking about partnerships, whether they be local or statewide or national. And the Michigan Public Health Institute is built upon that principle. We believe we are a space of innovation. And so we work in all 50 states throughout the country, and we take all of that learning and bring it back to our home community here in Michigan. And so we don't know everything, right? We haven't seen everything, but because of the opportunities we have to work throughout the country, we can bring those insights back to this space. And that's how Advanced Peace came to Lansing. Devon was over doing his work in California, and our own prosecutor went to a national conference and said, I heard something that I think our community could benefit from, and brought it back, and we started dialogue. And this is really about doing what works. I think we have to be better stewards of the resources that we have. I don't think we have a resource problem. We have a lack of knowledge problem. Wow. And we want to make sure that as we take scarce resources and use them, that we do things that benefit our community, that the child and family outcomes are improving and moving in the right direction. And as I said earlier, this is not rocket science. When we think about the things that work for youth, they're working for my kids. I have 5 kids.
That's right.
They're working for your kids. You
Yes.
know, you want your kids to travel. You want your kids to be connected with folks who have positive messages. You want your kids to receive quality education. You want your kids to develop skill sets. And we do that because we know the outcomes are going to increase for their success in life. And so it's the same thing with this community. There are folks who are unfortunate. And if I look at the scripture, Micah 6:8 says, he hath showed thee, O man, what is good. And what doth the Lord require thee, but to do justly and to love mercy and to walk humbly with thy God. We don't have to make this very complicated, Pastor Chris. We just need to do what God told us to do and find people who we can connect with, who have similar hearts, similar passions, similar goals, and lock our arms together, and we'll begin to see our communities transform.
Listen, I hear the joy and excitement, the passion. I've seen the work that you've been doing. I've seen you drive up and down the expressway, just empowering, working with our police, working with our prosecutors, working with our mayor and different leaders in our community. Dr. Elam, I want to pause for the cause today and just tell you thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. It's my calling. It's my assignment.
Listen, man, you have been a godsend to the city of Saginaw. I know many people may not know, and that's just the type of person you are. I always tell people you got leave people. Yeah, you got leave people, you got branch people, and then you have rooted people. Those are the people that you don't see that are making the difference. And so I say the same for every pastor that is out there. Our job is to be the hands and the feet and to make sure that we represent. As you are sharing this information, you know, we're living in a very challenging time where people are losing trust in our democratic system. It's being tested, honestly. And so I want to ask you, why is it so important, especially for people of faith, to stay civically engaged and involved as a church? And what are the actions that you are charging for us to make sure, even at the ballot box, of what we're doing? Share with us.
That is such a great topic, and I hope Saginaw hears us. We are living in sometimes, right? And the great thing about it, though, is God created us and placed us to be a voice in the earth, to be vessels in the earth this time. And I believe he's given us the grace that we need to deal with these conditions. And one of the things that we need to spend some time engaging in is our democratic process. If the church knows anything, we know where we came from.
Yes.
We have freedoms. We have liberties. We have opportunities that my grandmother didn't have. My great-grandmother didn't have, and it was because of this thing we call civic engagement.
That's right.
Right. And so I myself joined the board this past year called Voters, Not Politicians, and I'm on their education fund. It is a nonpartisan 501c3 that is working to strengthen democracy in Michigan. What are we doing? We're educating and engaging citizens on issues like voting access, civic participation, redistricting. How does that impact your community? I bet 80% of your listeners don't know what's happening right now in our state. I'll give you one example. They've been talking a lot about the real ID. Yeah. You're going to need a real ID to travel, right? That date has come and passed. So if you don't have a passport or a real ID, you won't travel. Well, there's now an initiative taking place in our state by conservative organizations that says when you go to the voting booth in fall of 2026, not only will you need a real ID, you're going to need other pieces of information, your social security card, your birth certificate. And fortunately for the real ID, if you showed up to the Secretary of State office and didn't have your paperwork, you can go back and reschedule and come back. If you show up at the election booth come next year, if this ballot passes, you won't have another opportunity to come back and vote. You will not be voting because you will not be compliant with the current law. And so we have to be civically engaged. We sing these stories in the church about I got my war clothes on and I'm a soldier in the Lord's army. And we are, but there are different battles we have to fight, right? And so our forefathers, our ancestors fought those battles, and now it's incumbent upon us to be engaged and understand what is the new fight, because folks are active and engaged and strategically planning to take things from us.
Wow. We talked about the mission of SAP in this program. Advocacy is critical. And what you just said speaks volumes of why we must be well aware of what is taking place and how things are happening and how we use our voice. Part of the greatest challenge is we're reactive rather than being proactive. And so I want to thank you for being a part of this group. What's the name of the group again?
Voters, Not Politicians.
Wow. And so I need you to hear that. We've got about 3 minutes left. I want you to share, because you talked about voter suppression. You talked about some of these tactics. What are some other things that you think, based upon the city of Saginaw, we need to be well aware of?
Well, today, as we leave this conversation, we're going to meet with other leaders to begin to have a conversation around civic engagement, democracy, how faith-based organizations can support the community. Our communities are bleeding, Pastor Chris.
Yes.
Actually,
just honestly.
And that can be metaphorically, it can be actual due to the conversation we had around gun violence. But I believe too many of our brothers and sisters are not living their full potential.
Right.
And what I would say is we have to find a way to participate. We can't be soldiers. We can't have our war clothes on. We can't put on the whole armor of God and be on the battlefield and not willing to fight.
That's right.
Right.
Skin in the game.
We can't act like this is a basketball game and we're commentating on the game. No. God has called us to get in the game, and I think that is what civic engagement means. The church is called to do that. We are called to participate. The church should be all things to all people in our community. And so our people perish for what? Lack of knowledge. And so there is information that we need to share.
That's right.
With our citizens to make sure that they are well aware of the threats that exist and that we can come together and fight in prayer, right? And in praise, but also putting our hands to the plow. Faith without works is dead, right? And so there's a calling, there's an assignment, and I believe we have the leadership here in this community to do that, and we're doing our part to make sure we're sounding the trumpet. There's a clarion call that we need to fight for the things that have been given to us through a democratic process. And so elections are not beneath us. That's a battlefield. Public policy is not a secular issue. It is a spiritual issue when it impacts who eats in your community, who gets health in your community, who lives in safe communities, and who actually gets hurt. That is a fight we need to all be participating in.
Listen, we got to start watching all these shows. We got to make sure that we're knowledgeable on the news that's happening before it's too late. And so I want to thank you today, Dr. Paul Elam. Listen, he's the chief strategist for Michigan Public Health Institute, doing a phenomenal job working in the city of Saginaw across these great United States of America. Listen, it's time for us to pray. It's time for us to play. It's time for us to make sure, because somebody is PREYing. And so with that, we've got to go to work. We have to make sure that we're well knowledgeable. I want to make sure to everyone who is listening today, you go out and be a blessing, speak life into someone. Matter of fact, if you're riding, if you're sitting in the comfort of your home, tell that person sitting next to you, I love you. Send a text message out and tell them, I love you. I need you. And if you've got an ought against someone or angry about them, listen, you got a right to be angry, but you don't have a right to be angry for a lifetime. I want to say thank you. Join me next week. We're going to bring in some young people from the great city of Saginaw. They're going to share and be impactful. Thank you. KISS 107.1. We enjoyed you, Dr. Paul Elam. Thanks again, and God bless.
Thank you for the invitation.